Hey everybody, we're going to do a little bit of a quick news reaction based on the latest report coming out of Deadline that we had reported on at Star Wars News Net. We just got this as we were podcasting, so this is not a part of the episodes or anything like that, so we figured we'd put this together real quick, little off the cuff here. So we're just going to take a look. Deadline has said that a spinoff is happening from The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, but this is going to be a show starring Boba Fett, which was the original inspiration for the Mandalorian series and the Mandalorian culture. They're saying Tamir Morrison, who had a surprise cameo at the end of the second season premiere, is said to be involved. That makes sense, obviously. Morrison will likely reappear later this season in The Mandalorian. But this new project is suggested to be a mini-series with a limited run planned rather than a new ongoing series. So that's the report out of Deadline, I believe it is, which is usually pretty reputable. What do you guys think of this? Obviously, are you buying it? Do you think it's something legit? And what do you think about a Boba Fett limited series? James, why don't you start us off with that?
So my first thought was this article initially came out and it did not have this news, and then it was like edited and they came in and they were like, oh, we wanted to add one more thing, and it's the biggest piece of news there. That makes me think, I don't know what it was with like the timeline or did they, I don't know. That seems weird to me, number one. And the second thing that makes me feel is maybe they were holding on to this news and they were waiting until enough time after that first initial, because they knew that he was going to be in the first episode or something. Maybe they were waiting. But I don't know, man. I kind of don't buy it. I trust Deadline, but my initial thoughts on this is like, I don't see how this aligns. Like, you could convince me of a Cara Dune spinoff, Grief Karga spinoff, an Ahsoka spinoff. Like, I get that. The Boba Fett one seems weird to me. Like, is he gonna be an ally, and then he goes off and does his own thing? Like, I don't know. I haven't had enough time to really sit and consider, and we don't know that much about his role in Mandalorian and how he's gonna fit in. So I'm very curious as to see, like, he's one of the last characters I would thought would be a spinoff from Mandalorian. I could see him getting his own show, like in Solo timeline and stuff. Yeah, all that makes perfect sense. Right now, I think his place is in the Mandalorian. It seems weird for him to have his own show.
Yeah, Lacey, what do you make of this? They're saying that this, whatever this spinoff is, originally their original report could be entering production soon, and they clarified that it has nothing to do with the Leslie Headland thing, so it's its own thing. And then they came back and said it's a mini series, limited series for Boba Fett. What do you think?
It's weird to me because the Mandalorian exists because they weren't going to do this with Boba Fett. Right. So it's weird to me that they're now kind of like, okay, we're going back in on this. And it's like, okay, but what does that mean for the Mandalorian? Like, how does this play out? Like James was saying, I don't know. I'm still in the boat, and I know I said this with the Mandalorian early on, is like, what's the appeal here? Like, to me, I'm kind of just like, we have the Mandalorian. It's so wonderful. Like, what are you trying to accomplish with this other series? So that's where I'm kind of just like scratching my head, like, what does this mean? Because we're basically getting what would have been, I think, a Boba Fett series with the Mandalorian. So what other story would you want to tell? And is the appeal there, I guess? But based on the reaction of last Friday, including myself, the shock and excitement of, wow, this actually happened, is maybe what drove this rumor to have more credibility.
Yeah, it's interesting. It could be, again, one of those return things, because Boba Fett was a project that was well into development stages for the movie, and maybe they liked what the story was, and now that they're bringing him into the Mandalorian, they're finding a new way to alter that to maybe adjust it for this timeline. Because I didn't know what the Boba Fett series was. I didn't know if it was always supposed to be after Return of the Jedi, or if it was something that's going to take place like before. But it looks like Tamara Morrison's the guy. So you get this level of Boba Fett. I do like the idea, if it is real, that it is a limited series, because I never saw Boba Fett as someone that's supposed to carry something. So I think you get little pockets of him. If you could tell some cool stories of him doing what he does best and getting in the mix in a limited capacity, that makes the most sense to me. So I don't know. I mean, like you see, Deadline is one of those trades that is very reputable. They're a solid big trade. And for them to update this, as James, I agree with you, James, it is weird. So it could be one of those things. Sometimes, we're just a fan site, Star Wars Newsnet, but we have our sources and stuff, and we've put out articles, and then someone contacts us and says, hey, I saw your article, just so you know this, or you're a little off on this, or I heard this too, and then we update it, right? So maybe someone else that they have even bigger sources with were like, listen, I'm hearing it's this, and they're like, oh, we got to update that before someone else runs it. So that could have happened. It's interesting. I don't know that I 100% buy it, but I could believe it. Because I think it's one of those things that if they were so inclined to at one point make a Boba Fett theatrical movie, I think maybe doing a small Disney Plus show on a smaller budget, to me, is something that they would do.
Yeah, my impression with the original Boba Fett movie was that it was in conjunction with Solo. It was supposed to be the exact same time period and even have kind of a crossover with the events. Yeah.
Okay.
It was, I had heard that from, and I mean, it's just one person or whatever, but it was the John Schnepp, you remember, from Collider?
Yeah.
John Schnepp said that the people that he knew that were involved with the Boba Fett film were saying that they were going to do Solo, and somewhere in Solo, he was going to look over and make eye contact with Boba Fett, and that was going to be the wink at that character, and then continue on with this movie. And they were going to do the Boba Fett movie, and the Boba Fett movie, at one point, he was going to look over and make eye contact with Solo.
Oh, wow.
And it was supposed to line in the middle of the movie, but they were going to be in conjunction with each other, and that was how they were going to market the tie-in there. But then obviously the one got canned, and so they just kind of removed that from the Solo project, which are still moving forward.
Interesting. So,
I don't know.
Yeah, my last thing on this is we got to see how much he's involved in the Mandalorian, and maybe it's one of those things he gathers his armor back and then goes off and does his little I'll see you around, and then that's what kicks off his series. Lacey, do you think it's going to be one of those things where they say Mandalorian spinoff? So do you think it's going to be this age Boba Fett thing, or you think they're going to try to do a younger thing like they were earlier potentially doing? But
I don't know. It's tricky because you could do how he got to the point he's at, which to me would be more interesting, I think, than what comes next, because you're going to see what comes next with the Mandalorian. The big question is, how did he get to where he is now?
So you think getting out of the Sarlacc and getting involved.
What is the time period of those things?
Well, so you have Return of the Jedi.
Right.
He falls into the Sarlacc, and then Mandalorian takes place, 5+ years after that.
Okay, so it's only 5 years.
5.
Yeah. So how soon did he get out? Probably relatively soon, because he would have died of starvation, right? So then he's doing something for that time
5
period.
years, yeah.
But you're not going to get. That's the only thing with me. You're not going to get Boba Fett in the armor the way you want to see Boba Fett.
It's got to be either super early, like when he's in his prime of being a bounty hunter, or after. Happens.
Yeah. So if it's a Mando spinoff, as they're saying, then I'm thinking it's post.
Right, whatever happens, which we might see something.
Which is an open canvas right now, because then the only thing you have after that is the sequel trilogy, which is 25 years after that. So
it is a little interesting, because then if that is in fact the case, that means that you surely got to imagine Boba Fett's going to get that armor back.
You're not making a Boba Fett show without it looking like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you have any other things you want to add to this, or do you want to get out of here?
I'm just glad it's not a Cara Dune series.
It's funny you say that. The one thing I was going to add is like, is there any chance that they do the Cara Dune series, they do the Ahsoka series, they do the Boba Fett series, and then Mandalorian season 5 or 6,
the Avengers,
they cross it and bring it all back to where it started.
I think. I mean, again, we don't know if this isn't a confirmed thing yet, but Deadline is one of those bigger trades who are respectable. Yeah. I'm not saying they've gotten everything right, but no one gets everything right. It always comes down to Lucasfilm and Disney. There's that. It always comes down to Lucasfilm and Disney confirming it. So let us know what you think. Do you buying it? Do you think there is going to be a Boba Fett limited series? What do you think on our rationale behind that and our takes on that? And hit us up in the comments or on Twitter at RBATSWN. And make sure you always subscribe to our podcast because we have the Resistance broadcast every Monday and Thursday. And, of course, the Mando Fan Show live Friday nights. So, again, let us know. And until next time, we'll see you around, kids.